11 June 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Matapo from the Zimbabwe People Power Movement. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. How about you, sir?
Very well. Today we are going to be discussing the press conference that was held yesterday, which was addressed by Minister of Home Affairs, Kazembe. Did you manage to see that press conference?
Yes, I did. I managed to see that. I viewed that press conference. Thank you.
Okay. Can you please explain to us if it is usual or common for such a press conference to address such a topic addressed by someone like a Minister of Home Affairs?
It is absolutely not usual. Maybe let me start by saying that last time that we saw such kind of a press conference is in 2017 when they were about to carry out a coup to remove Mugabe. That was not usual at all. That's what I can only say, because that's what it means and why exactly they came up with that kind of discussion or press conference. We are going to explore it as we discuss today.
Okay, so you saw the people that were in the press conference.
Yes.
Can you take us through who was inside the press conference?
Yes, there was Kazembe, Minister of Home Affairs. He is the one who was talking or conducting the press conference. And then there were also 6 other members in there. There was Opam Chinguri, the Minister of Defense. There was Owen Nue, the Minister of State Security. There was General Philip Valerius Van, the Commander-in-Chief, the Commander, Zimbabwe Defense Forces, not Commander-in-Chief. There was Godwin Matanga, the Police Commissioner General. There was Paradzais Mondi, who is the Prison and the Correctional Services Chief. And lastly, there was Elvis Moyo, who is the Air Force of Zimbabwe Commander. Those were the 7 people who were involved in that press conference.
Okay, so that is what is called the National Security Council. Is that body still existing? What is the National Security Council? How does it fit into the security structure in Zimbabwe?
Yes. You see, this one here was more of the JOC, the Joint Operations Command. But this Joint Operations Command, in this particular instance, there was supposed to be one of the vice president was supposed to be there. And also they were supposed to be the state Central Intelligence Organization leader. He was not there. Of course, he was represented. The minister was there, but the commander for the CIOs was not there. And also, so it was not quite, the composition was not quite the proper composition as it used to be, or as it is supposed to be. So this was not quite constituted. It might mean something that is quite far-fetched. So this group of people here, in this case, they wanted just to show us that, of course, there is no coup that is being talked about. But is it about a coup? I'm going to explain more on that. I'm going to touch on that subject as we go. But this national security team that was there was not quite composed as it is supposed to be.
Okay, so what kind of clearances would you need to hold such a high-level press conference? Because the subject they're dealing with is very, very critical. What kind of clearance would they need to make such a press conference?
Obviously, this kind of press conference needs the highest clearance of the land, the highest clearance coming from ED himself, and I'm very sure that they were cleared by ED. It shows the level of panic that this state has. It's a subject on its own, that they are panicking. So I'm going to talk about that as well.
Okay, so if this was coming from ED, let's go into the narrative that they brought into the press conference. First of all, they said there is a narrative or a rumor that G40, which is based in South Africa, working with senior members who are named, for example, General Chiwenga, want to execute a coup in Zimbabwe. Is that narrative what is out there, or were they trying to create a new narrative?
I mean, from the way the team was constituted, then it speaks for itself. Why were they talking about, why were they dismissing a coup which is brewing, and yet Chiwenga was not there? If they were saying something that would hold water, they were supposed to say, here is Chiwenga with us, here is Parents Shield with us, here is whoever the people who are being alleged to be working with G40. They were supposed to be also part of this team and say, they are here, and there is nothing like that. So what this actually means to me is that these people were actually, this is a result of panicking, because they are panicking. Something is happening within their systems. Yes, of course, I've always said Chiwenga himself cannot institute a coup. That I've said. But look, and they would want to call it a coup. I don't want to call it a coup. There is a process which is taking place, which is going to remove them because they are illegitimate. The people of Zimbabwe are angry. The people of Zimbabwe are telling them that you are illegitimate. You must not be there, and you are not fit to be where you are. Let us not call it a coup. It is true that there is no coup that is going to happen, but they are going to be removed legitimately. Their removal is not a coup. We have a process to remove them. It's not a coup. It's a legitimate process, and everybody should support it. I urge all Zimbabweans to rally behind whoever has got efforts to remove such criminals from abusing us. They are abusing us, and we cannot allow that. If indeed Chiwenga is actually part of the team that is doing those kind of processes, then we applaud him. Thank you very much, General Chiwenga, if you are part of that. And whoever is part of it, I hope Valerio Svanda and Godwin Matanga and everyone else will be able to go to the side of the people when thieves, thugs are being removed. Emerson Mnangagwa and your team of Kazembe, the other one is whatever their names, whether they are your children or not, but you must be removed. You must go. That's the point. Yes.
Okay. So let's go to the issue of how a coup can happen in Zimbabwe. You have mentioned in the past that if a coup is to happen, it will start from the lower ranks. I saw that yesterday they avoided talking about a coup from the lower ranks. Is it possible that they can actually be right, that the coup is not coming from the upper ranks, but something has happened from the lower ranks? Are we looking at a post-attempt of a coup from that press conference? Did the junior soldiers probably try something?
Yes. I want to just remind you that I don't want to call it a coup. It's not a coup. It's a legitimate process, because the moment we call it a coup, then it becomes, internationally unrecognized. The international community should be able to recognize any process of removal of thugs, of dictatorship, So this is not a coup. And that process, yes, it can actually emanate from the lower ranks, because the lower ranks of the army, of the police, they are suffering. Right now, this is why they've been allowed to go around victimizing people. You know, that's where they are actually getting their pay from, and their pay in form of bribes. Can that be a nation? So they are not happy. The lower ranks of the army and the police, they are not happy. And I feel that this is the right time. This is very good that we have got the army and the police not on the side of the thugs. And that process itself is very good for the people. Let the army, I urge the army and the police to keep it up and be on the side of the people. Whoever leads a revolution to remove these thugs, support him. It is time to support anyone who is going to lead a movement or a revolution to remove the criminals who are suppressing us. So that's why I have thanked General Chiwenga if he is part of it, because by not involving him there, it means he could actually be working with some lower ranks and also other people. That is absolute. We will give you amnesty, those of you who are going to work with the people, who are going to go onto the side of the people. We will give you, I assure you that we will give you amnesty when eventually we form this National Transitional Authority, and we are going to form it. Already, we have, thrown feelers to a lot of professionals. A lot of people are waiting just to get in. There is a government in waiting as soon as these thieves have been removed, and that's what we are waiting for. So that is coming, sure. Yes.
Okay, so let's go to that very point. It was raised during the press conference that there is not going to be a National Transitional Authority. There's not going to be a unit government. They raised this point. So I want us to go back to the narrative, what they're narrating and what is on the ground. Who is their audience when they say there's no NTA, there's no government of national unity? Are they speaking to the general populace, or are they speaking to a specific constituent or stakeholder within the government?
Yes, they are actually, that narrative on its own was meant to address part of government, those within government who are advocating for those kind of things. Remember, they talked about two things. The first one is that there is not going to be a government of national unity. We don't even want it also. The public does not want that. Nobody wants that kind of thing. We don't want a government of national unity because it will not benefit the people. It will not benefit our nation. It will benefit the same thieves. But there is going to be a National Transitional Authority running, and that National Transitional Authority is not going to involve the ZANU-PF thieves. These criminals will not be part of this National Transitional Authority. And so that is the truth, and we are not worried about that. They were saying it to certain quarters of government, and that is the truth.
Okay, so no coup, no National Transitional Authority, no unit government. So what is the role of Thokozani Kupe and Douglas Ngonzora, who have now taken over in the MDC? What do you think is the plan from the government of Idi Mnangagwa of splitting the opposition? Is it linked to this?
Yeah, well, at this point, it's not only the main opposition that is linked to this, but I can say that it's almost everybody. It's almost all Zimbabweans who are involved in trying to bring about sanity in our country. And so every right-minded person in Zimbabwe, civilians, the military, the police, and everyone else, is involved in one way or the other in trying to bring about sanity, including some government officials who are against the corruption, who are against the criminal activities going on within government. And so those right-minded people are all involved in this kind of, in this move. Yes.
Okay, so what was the point of removing Nelson Chamisa from his position?
Yeah, you see, the idea, the reason behind saying all that was to try and, you know, showing that they are aware of what might take place, and they are ready. It's actually a sign of panicking. They were only trying to emphasize the fact that they are already panicking and they have lost control. The center is no longer holding. You know, coming out in the open like that, trying to just show that they are courageous, and yet they are not, because there are signs all over around them that the center is no longer holding. There is no trust whatsoever within the top leadership. The top leadership itself is not agreeing. The military, there is no trust amongst themselves. So that is the reason why they came out like that. They thought that by saying that, they might sway that aside. And whoever is planning to bring the sanity will stop it, because then they will say, okay, because we are being seen. So, but that will not stop the revolution, because the time for the revolution is just now. So that will not stop anything.
Okay, now let's look at Xavier Kasukuwere. Xavier Kasukuwere said,
sorry, can you back up a little bit? I can't hear clearly.
Right, so Xavier Kasukuwere, why was he mentioned in this press conference?
Right, Xavier Kasukuwere, remember, was part of G40, that other faction of ZANU-PF called G40. But what I know is they cleared all his the cases, the offenses that they accused him for. Whether he is genuinely fighting for the people or he is part of them, these guys, is something else. I'm not very certain there, but from the way they cleared all his offenses, and from the way that he is said to be going back to Zimbabwe, what I know is a genuine person fighting them will not be, they will not accommodate such kind of a person, because those people can kill. They are very good at killing. So they might have mentioned different names. Some names were just mentioned to fill up space, but they have got actual names of people whom they think are going to remove them. Because surely people who are genuinely in need of removing them are there, and they must be removed. There is no question about that. But they may have mentioned some names in order to mislead people, so that the people can follow certain individuals, and yet they are not the right people who are going to actually do it. Because here we need genuine people who have got people at heart, who want to remove them. They must be removed, no question about that. So they are cheaters in between. There are people who cheat, who work with them behind the scenes, and then they can be mentioned as if they are the real ones, so that then people can be misled. People are easy to mislead. People can be misled and can follow, you know, fake people. It's possible also. I'm not saying Kasukuwere is fake, but he, yeah. I don't, personally, I don't trust him.
Okay, so if we look at Job Scholar, Xavier Kasukuwere, those were the two politicians that were mentioned. Why? What would be the specific reason? Is Job Scholar more of a threat than Nelson Chamisa?
Yes, that's a very good question. Well, from the way he speaks, from the way he goes on media and talks a lot about wanting to remove them. Well, one is, bound to think that Job Scholar could be a bigger threat than Nelson Chamisa. Though I'm not confirming anything there. The two, they know better who is more, and maybe their followers also might know a bit more about them. But in my view, I only know that the regime, they can use a tactic and mention names of people that they want, the public to follow. But the process showing those, they get misled. I'm not saying these two are bad. No, they could be genuine. Anyone can do anything, I know. But in this case, the two, Job Scholar and Chamisa, maybe when they say Job Scholar, it also means Chamisa, because they work together, since Job Scholar and Chamisa work together. So they could actually be afraid of Job Scholar and Chamisa together. So it could be like that. I'm not very sure there.
So we've looked at quite a number of issues. We looked at who was there. We looked at the narrative. We looked at who was not there. We looked at what could happen as a coup. And we looked at why the politicians, Job Scholar and Xavier Kasukwe, were mentioned. Now let's go to the prophets. Was it important to mention Nathan, the American prophet, Prophet Chiwenga, and Chilo? I think there's a prophet called Chilo. Was it significant to mention those prophets?
That was not significant at all. You see, because prophets are just prophets. They speak of what the Lord would have shown them. And I don't see how they are threats unless they are saying they should not have, spoken, or they should not have been shown by the Lord whatever they were shown. So it was not necessary at all, in my view.
Okay.
They are not threats.
So Nathan, the American prophet, says he directly sent a message to Mnangagwa's office that Mnangagwa will be shot and killed. And after a few days, he made a video and said Mnangagwa's daughter phoned him. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it also points to the fact that they are panicking. It's part of the panicking that I've been talking about. The regime is panicking a lot. He also made another, I'm sure, the third video, the third prophecy, that American Nathan. He said Mnangagwa, because Mnangagwa is refusing to repent, he is going to be killed. That's what he said. I don't wish him dead. I don't wish Mnangagwa dead. I don't wish anyone to be killed. But this is what the Lord has said in terms of those prophets. So it only means that like I have said, that the sender is no longer holding, and which is very good for the people, because we need this regime to fall. This regime must fall headlong, because this regime is a nuisance. This regime is just not good for the people of Zimbabwe. So this is the time that we should all come together and do one thing. This is very good. It was not necessary at all mentioning that, but because they are just panicking, that's why they are doing that.
Okay, now let's go to the embassies. Is it true that the embassies in Zimbabwe or foreign countries are engaged in warfare against the government of Mnangagwa in terms of using maybe cyber terrorism, using organizations like media houses? Is that a diplomatic thing to say? Like, if you are at a level of a Home Affairs Minister, can you make such a statement to say there are embassies that are engaged in activities to bring down the government of Mnangagwa?
That on its own is an attack on other countries. That is not acceptable. Diplomatically, that is unacceptable. How can a minister of Home Affairs stand up there and say that? And what kind of relations are they making? That is not acceptable at all. And I don't agree with them that foreign embassies are working with the opposition or with elements to try and remove government. Why? Why would they do that? They won't do that because what about if that happens also in their countries? They won't do that. But all I know is that embassies, and like everyone else, they want the right thing to be done. This regime has to do the right thing. If they were doing the right thing, then they would not be worried. They would not be panicking. By mentioning that, it means they have been isolated. They are now just like an island. They are no longer, working with other governments as they should be. Where is foreign relations when you when you attack other governments like that? And for that matter, on an issue that is not substantiated, they don't have any kind of evidence to prove that these embassies are working with elements to try and remove them. Why should they be thinking like that? It shows that they are not doing the right thing. So that statement on its own was not a good statement. That was very wrong.
Okay, let me take you to recent events. There was abduction of 3 ladies, and after the abduction, there was an outcry from the United States Embassy in Zimbabwe. There was an outcry from the European Union. There was an outcry from the United Nations, and I think a number of other embassies, if I'm not mistaken, even the British Embassy. The government of Zimbabwe has come out and said these ladies were not abducted. They faked the abduction. Do you think there is a group within the security service of Zimbabwe that is trying to tarnish the image of Mnangagwa by staging these abductions or by actually carrying out the abductions?
No. You see, those 3 ladies were actually abducted. There is no question about them not having been abducted. They are refusing that they were abducted. This is not the first time that they've abducted people. They abducted so many people in the past, and they continue to abduct people. Remember, I was abducted at one point. Until then, they put me in prison and stayed in prison for 7 years. It was after I had been abducted and kept underground for 4 days, 4 nights. So this is not the first time that this regime has done this. They've always been doing this. And there is no way that any group of people can do it without the knowledge of the president himself. So Emmerson Mnangagwa himself authorized the abduction of those 3 ladies. No question about it. They abducted, these 3 ladies were abducted by people who had authority from Emmerson Mnangagwa himself. I'm surprised that there was an outcry only for these 3 ladies. But remember, just shortly before, there were 2 sisters in Matebeleland, in Blawayo, in Luverne, who were abducted and tortured by the police. Those 2 ladies suffered much more than these 3 ladies. I'm surprised the media in Zimbabwe is somehow, I don't know why they leave out certain, people and concentrate on others. I don't know whether whose mistake it is, but look, those 2 ladies were tortured by the police, by the same regime, and tortured for the reasons that they had gone out to look for food for their families. And they were tortured. Look at that. So that torture was not only for the 2 ladies. I don't remember their names, of course. But look, I'm saying that torture, they had gone to look for food. It means they failed to even get the food and bring the food to their children, to their loved ones. Their loved ones suffered and continue to suffer because they did not get the food. So we should be talking about all these things. It's very important. And don't forget that in March, they shot dead a young man called Bekani Moyo in Silowela. Today we are crying about George Fowle in the US. Everybody is talking about that. But we are not talking about our own Bekani Moyo, who was shot by the same regime just recently in March. We have got all these things. This regime is doing a lot. There is a lot that is going on silently out there. This regime is so evil.
Okay, but I want us to separate the political from police brutality.
Okay.
So if we look at what happened to Joanna Mamombe, Cecilia Chimbiri, and Netai Marova, it was political. They had a demonstration. So what I want to find out is the government of Zimbabwe is saying there is a campaign to tarnish the image of the government of Zimbabwe with the intention of overthrowing the government. And this is being coordinated by various forces. So the question then arises, is it possible that this is actually true, but not by embassies, but by the faction that you are mentioning, that it wants Mnangagwa gone? Could there be two factions in the army or in the security structures of Zimbabwe with a clear leader?
Yes, there could be more than just two factions. Remember, here we are not talking about a ZANU-PF faction, but we are talking about a group of thugs on one hand and the people of Zimbabwe on the other. So they are the groupings which are here. Yes, there could be fragmented groups within the people, but those fragmented groups within the people are coming together slowly. And those groupings that are coming together, they are including the junior ranks of the army, the junior ranks of the police. They are also coming in, and also some other top government officials who are fed up, who are sick and tired of this system, who might, who are also seeing that this system of stealing and killing people and doing bad to our country is actually destroying our country. And that is actually in existence. And this small clique, Mnangagwa and his children, Kazembe, Ziambi, and other small group, they are the ones that are directing all these other things. So they are right when they say they are people working with the opposition and so on. Yes, why not? Why not work with the people? The opposition means the people in this sense. So yes, it's true. It's working like that.
Okay, so are we saying the group of people that was sitting yesterday in that meeting, that is the Mnangagwa faction of the security services? Or was that a mix?
Absolutely. That team which was sitting yesterday, they are the Mnangagwa loyalists. Yes, they can see, all of them can see that what they are doing is very wrong. And we are willing to give them amnesty. All of them. We can give them amnesty if they come to the people. But today, as it is, they are the Mnangagwa faction. Those 7 people who made up that national security, whatever they call it. But they are the Mnangagwa faction, true.
Okay, then let's look at the information leakages. Over the past 3 months, there's been so much information leaked about the Mnangagwa family with documents and pictures. What do you think is happening? Is someone within the Mnangagwa system leaking this information? Absolutely.
We are getting a lot of information from him. Like I said, I've always been saying this, that we get a lot of information around him. Because the people, yes, we have to work with them. We know a lot that is happening around him. That is very true. And there are senior people around him. Yes, of course, who provide information to the people. We are the people, and we want change. And there are people around him who want change as well. That is very true. That's why you see a lot of his secrets going out. It's because of that.
How likely then is it that the scenario could come true that someone around Mnangagwa can turn around him? Is that a possibility?
That's a very high possibility. That's a very high possibility. All that the people around Mnangagwa are waiting for. They want to see a unity of purpose within the public, because they don't want to turn against him today and then they are left alone. And then eventually, then Mnangagwa, gets to know that, okay, these people have turned against me, then they are followed and killed. So what they are waiting for, I've always said this on this platform and other platforms, that the people around Mnangagwa, as well as some military elements who want change, they are waiting to see the people of Zimbabwe uniting together. That once there is unity, then the people around Mnangagwa will turn against him, of course. Obviously, that is coming. And that is the only way that we can remove this system, and then we can do a national transitional authority, and then we can conduct better elections, which are not rigged. Yes, that is coming.
Okay, that is one way. But the clarification that I want is it possible that someone near Mnangagwa who is fed up with his way of ruling could turn around and kill him?
Yes, that's exactly what I've answered. That is absolute. Yes.
And then what will happen in that case?
That possibility is very high and is coming. It's a combination of things. It's a combination of things that is going to happen. That possibility, I'm confirming that possibility is very high, 99.9%. It will happen.
Okay, and then in the post period of that, let's say someone kills Mnangagwa or removes him by force, or even he arrests Mnangagwa for all this corruption which is being put out. What do you think? Do you think these people will hand over to the civilians?
Yeah, this is, you see, there are two things here. The first one is that if the army does it on their own and those people around, then there will not be any change. That will not be a change. That will not be a change. And we will not recognize it. It has to be people-driven. We don't want it to be army-driven. So that's why we are out here calling the public to unite so that it can be a people-driven. Anything that is army-driven is not acceptable. That will become a coup. And we don't want it to be coup. And remember, we don't want Mnangagwa to be killed. We don't want anyone to be killed. We want, thugs to be arrested. The people have got power to arrest Mnangagwa, to arrest whoever is doing dirty things, who is stealing and killing people in Zimbabwe. They must be arrested and tried in courts that are free and fair, courts. So we don't want anyone to be killed. We don't want any violence. We don't want anything like that. We don't want the army to carry out a coup. No, we want a people-driven power to remove or to take power from the criminals and arrest the criminals and take them to our courts. And then we start from there. We don't want a situation which will end up, deteriorating and people getting problems and dying, wars and what have you. The possibility of the army doing that, carrying out a coup without the public is there. But we don't want it. That's the point.
Okay, let's look at the key figures who are in government now, who used to be in the military. S.B. Moyo, Terence Shiri, General Chiwenga, those used to be in the military.
Yeah, I have to be frank to you.
Yes.
Those whom you have mentioned, SB Moyo, especially SB Moyo, is related to Chiwenga. Sorry, is related to Mnangagwa. Is related to Mnangagwa, just like Valerius Banda is related to Mnangagwa, just like Elvis Moyo is related to Mnangagwa. Those, forget about that. They are well fed. They are part. When you say Mnangagwa, you are saying SB Moyo. You are saying Elvis Moyo. You are, you know, they are part and parcel of the same team. You are also saying Valerius Banda. So those will not turn against Mnangagwa. Chiwenga and Parents Shiri, they are not part of that team in terms of blood relationship, but also all the same, they have no capacity, as I said before. There are other players whom I'm not going to mention here, who are willing to work with the people so that, you know, they allow a people-driven process to take place, which is what we want. But those whom you have mentioned, one way or the other, they have no capacity because they are being controlled, they are being driven by Mnangagwa.
Okay, so how is this going to work? Because if you say SB Moyo is part of this group that also has Valerius Banda, how is this going to be driven to drive this junta from their position if they are so much in charge of everything?
Okay, look, if anybody decides to shoot Mnangagwa right now and kill him, that person will also be shot and get killed. It's neither here nor there. So I urge those around him not to do that. Remember, it happened in DRC. When Kabila was killed, he was shot, but the person who shot Kabila was also shot. So it doesn't help because we need everybody to survive. It's not going to be that process per se, but it's going to be that's why I said it's a people-driven, which will be allowed by members of the army and members of the, you know, those in government who know that the people have suffered enough. And of course, those who are not yet part of us, they must come to us. Those in the military, those in government who are not yet part of the people, contact me. Contact me. Once you contact me, you become part of the people. So they have to contact me so that they are part of the people. A lot of them have contacted me. We work together and we have directions that we are, you know, following. Nobody will be killed. Why? It's because it's a smooth process. It's a legitimate process. But those who are not contacting us will obviously be arrested. They will be cleared by courts. They will have to go to the courts and they will be tried by courts and will be cleared if they don't have anything that they've done. So it's going to be a smooth process, not a coup, but a real, you know, change which is expected. So that is how it is going to be. It's not going to be a coup. We don't allow coups in Zimbabwe. If anybody tries to do that, then they are very wrong. We don't want coups in Zimbabwe. We don't want anything that is illegitimate, that is illegal. We want a legal process which is acceptable by the international community.
Okay, what if the group around Mnangagwa has realized that this is quite a possibility that they could be removed, and they've got their own succession plan which they're implementing and which they want to implement rapidly, which is why they've come out now? What is the possibility of that?
Yeah, you see, the reason why Mnangagwa and team are holding on, why they removed Mugabe and you know, jumped in, it's because of their past. They know that they committed so many crimes. They are haunted by a lot of things that they have done in the past. Because of that, they will not allow any succession plan that is good for the people. They can only do it do what is good for them, nothing good for the people at all. So that will not work. Possibility of that kind of thing happening now, in my view, is zero.
Okay, what about the succession plan that is not good for the people that they can put in place to put their own person?
Yeah, that's what I've said. That
Yes.
possibility is zero at the moment, because they don't want to. The moment they do that, it will open way for other players like United Nations, like other players. That will open a way for them to come in, and once that happens, then that will drive them to a genuine. Because what they don't want is a genuine change. Genuine change to them is a big disadvantage, because then it will open up the worms. A can of worms will be opened. Every other secret will come out, and then they will be investigated, and so on and so forth. That's why they don't want a clear transition from dictatorship to this other system. So I'm saying that possibility, in my view, is actually zero. That will not happen. They will not do it in the near future. They can't.
Okay, now let's look at what has happened in other African countries. We have seen that a president who is very strong has been toppled, and they end up with their families and themselves either getting arrested or going into exile. If you look at the situation that is there around Mnangagwa right now, what is the likelihood that he might end up himself and his family having to leave Zimbabwe?
Chances are, like I've said before, that the people of Zimbabwe are fed up. They are sick and tired. The possibility of him running away, or ending up in a hole like what Saddam Hussein, what happened to Saddam Hussein, or to Gaddafi, chances are very high for that. Those are the chances which are available. They are very high chances, because people are angry. People, I mean, the situation in Zimbabwe is just unbearable. Nobody can live in such a prison. Zimbabwe has just become a big open prison for all Zimbabweans. So the possibility is very high.
Right, Mr. Albert Matapo from the Zimbabwe People Power Movement. We've had a very long discussion on this, and I think we should invite other people who want to contribute to this topic to WhatsApp on your number. Then we can involve them in another future Zoom conference where you can be in the Zoom conference. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
I just want to say that people of Zimbabwe, this is time. This is time that we should unite. The unity of purpose is very, very important at this moment in time. The center is no longer holding. The regime is panicking. They are panicking because of what they are doing, the wrong things that they are doing, and we cannot keep on watching. Our country is being destroyed. We need people who are genuine for change, and it is time that we should implement the change. It is very easy. Mnangagwa and team, for the offenses that they've committed, they must be arrested. The citizens' arrest is acceptable, is allowed at international level, and we should do it in a proper way. Please, we don't want violence. Do not kill anyone. Do not do anything that is illegal. We want a smooth transition. They must go. We cannot wait for 2023. Their year is 2020. This year, they must go. Then we are going to have a national transitional authority, which is going to run for a certain period, and then we do elections later on. Thank you very much, people of Zimbabwe.
And then before we end, I saw that yesterday they did not mention your name, but you are confidently speaking and saying you'll be part of the National Transitional Authority. Why do you think they did not mention your name?
Well, let them, they should not mention my name. That is very good, because they know that I follow legal lines. I don't do anything that's illegal. I want them to be removed legally. They must go this year, 2020, but legally. So whoever they mentioned, I think those want to do a coup. Ours is not a coup. It's a removal, which is legitimate. So they cannot mention somebody who comes with a plan to remove them using legal means. My plan is to remove them using legal means. They must go. And if they go on their own, that's perfect. Yes, if they've not committed crimes, perfect. We give them farms, they go and stay on their farms, and life goes on. But they must go. So they were right not to mention my name, of course, because I'm not part of the illegal process. I'm part of a legal process to remove them.
But do you consider your legal process more of a threat to them? Do they see a legal process as more of a threat than the illegal process of a coup?
No, they can't. A legal process will never be a threat because it's legal. Of course, they have no option. They have to go. But yes, a coup is more of a threat. But we will never conduct a coup. No, we don't want people to carry out coups. No, but they must go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matapo from the Zimbabwe People Power Movement. Your number is on the screen. And as I said, if anyone wants to join our next discussion, they must contact you on WhatsApp. And those who want to talk to you know how to get in touch with you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. They should join Zimbabwe People Power Movement. It's time for everybody to join Zimbabwe People Power Movement, ZPPM. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.